In this video, guys, we shall be taking a look at the 2003 comedy movie American Pie: The Wedding, in which is the third installment in the American Pie franchise. So without further ado, let's get into today's review. Let's get into it. So I thought then that this comedy movie was really funny. It was a solid movie overall, and it was a good sequel in the American Pie franchise. However, I do not believe this is as good as the first American Pie movie and the second one. I do think it lacks a lot, including the character Oz, as you expected him to be in this movie in some capacity, similar to Kevin, who didn't really do much in this movie. However, I did expect Oz to be in there because, and even Heather to an extent, because their story weren't really completed. I get why Vicky weren't in this movie, as I felt that her character arc had finished at this point in time, so it made no sense for her to return. However, Oz and Heather, I think that was something that they could have still explored. However, they didn't, and I thought that not having them in the movie at all, not even in an end credit scene. I know end credit scenes were fast and far between in the early thousands, but an end credit scene of some kind, or even put it at the end of the movie or in the movie of some kind, or even just at the wedding, there was nothing. Oz weren't mentioned, didn't explain why he weren't in there. So I thought that this was a real letdown, as I felt that this character was missing, and something was missing in American Pie, the wedding. I'm not sure if it was just Oz. I think there was a few things missing. On this, I thought that it weren't as good as the original, simply for the fact that if you look at the original too, I felt that it was more open to several different groups of teenagers, and Jim were the main character, but he weren't at the same time, because it followed Stifler, it followed Finch, it followed Oz, it followed Kevin, it followed all these different relationships meeting up at the end, and then you felt like Jim's not the main character. However, I feel that the wedding focused thoroughly on Jim and Michelle, and I think since they did that, I feel that Stifler was still Stifler. I think they explored him, and if they didn't, that would have been a huge mistake, because he's sort of the one that's still carrying American Pie at this point. But no, I think they did the right thing with Stifler and Finch chasing after Cadence. However, I do think though that Kevin was left out a little bit. He was just the spare part. I didn't really like what they did with his character, and I felt that this movie lacked a lot because it didn't explore Kevin's in a relationship of sorts. She was apparently in a relationship, as mentioned when he's at the bachelor party, and he says, "Oh, my girlfriend won't approve of this," showing that he does have a girlfriend around this time. However, for whatever reason, they didn't put her on screen at any point, and I feel that that's what let this movie down a little bit, because you're really feeling that with Kevin, they didn't really explore him. He was just there, and unfortunately, I feel this was the start of the downward spiral of American Pie. I also thought that Stifler and Finch's chasing after Cadence was really good, and they explored that avenue really well. And the interesting thing about this is that Stifler actually trades roles with Finch, as Stifler becomes a version of Finch, and Finch becomes a version of Stifler, and they basically swap personalities to see who can get the girl, because Stifler goes in with the approach of sort of the smart know-it-all, and Finch goes in as this sort of badass sex maniac. And to be fair, the switch of roles was very funny, as these two, hate each other, and that character development between the two of trying to figure out how they're going to get the girl was really good. We always knew that Stifler was probably going to be the one that ends up getting Cadence, but then obviously the thing with Stifler is that in this movie he goes through a bit of character development himself, as he finds out at the end of the movie that he can't just be selfish, as that costs Jim's wedding and Michelle's wedding, and it looks like it's going to turn out really terrible for the pair, until Stifler then drops his selfish act and then helps put the wedding back together that he helped destroy, in which was really good and showed a development in his character, and maybe that he might be able to have a long-term relationship with Cadence. Even though that it didn't work out as it should have, I do think that it was a good way of reintroducing Stifler's character as maybe of a changed character, but in Reunion we see that he just goes back to normal and that he hasn't grown up any from this movie, and that's why I think that the Stifler at the end of this movie just hasn't changed enough in Reunion, or has gone backwards and doesn't. I don't know what happened there. I just feel that this movie should have been the platform then for not a changed Stifler, but a Stifler that might have had a family of sorts and could have explored that character well in Reunion, in which we see in Reunion that he doesn't, but later for that another video. But yeah, I just feel that the Stifler arc really wrapped up full circle of how he needed to grow up in that moment. And yeah, I felt that that was a good character development by the people who wrote American Pie, as that showed a full circle of his character arc. I also thought then that the movie moments really helped capture what this movie was, and that was a story that was quite weak in comparison to the original two, and I feel the movie moments helped drag it through its toughest times, as we saw Stifler dancing a gay bar, which was really good, actually, to be fair. And I feel that the music used over the top of Bear and Stifler dancing was really good. I feel it was a cool addition to the movie, and I feel that it elevated the franchise in a whole different light. I do also believe that Jim throwing his pubic hair out the window and it goes into the flower department and goes into the cake facilities and stuff, I felt that was really good and a really funny moment that won't be forgotten. And I do think, though, that this was maybe the last movie that had those American Pie funny movie moments, as I don't think Reunion's got that same energy with those movie moments and don't capture those movie moments like in American Pie 1 with Nadia. I feel that is a movie moment that is iconic for when you think of that movie, and those two for me are iconic to this movie. And every time you think of those, you think of those scenes first before you think about that movie, really. And I feel that those two scenes in particular really help to drag this movie over the line into actually being quite a funny movie, as I felt that it lacked a lot, and that these movie moments and Stifler and Jim and Michelle really helped lift it up over that line. And probably even Jim's dad, Mr. Levenstein, as well, was really good at dragging this movie along, because it missed Oz. Kevin was anonymous, and I feel that although Finch was decent, he's never going to be able to carry the can for the entire movie, as he's not that major character. So I feel that, yeah, a lot of the characters didn't really get used how they should have, and I feel that that's why this movie, and I might be being a little bit harsh on this movie, to be fair, but I think that the standards of the first two is the reasons why I'm not hating. I don't hate this movie. I just want to point out that it's not as good as those two, because those are on a different level, and this was a little bit of a drop-off in my personal opinion. Finally, I thought that the actors and actresses were incredible, as we saw the likes of Jason Biggs, Alyson Hannigan, Sean William Scott, Eugene Levy, Kaye Thomas, Thomas Ian Nicholas, January Jones, Molly Cheek, Deborah Rush, Fred Willard, and Eric Allen Kramer, which were all exceptional. To summarise American Pie, The Wedding, then, I thought that this was a solid movie, really good character development in parts. However, I do believe this was a step down, a few steps down, should I say, from the original two movies, hence why I've rated this movie a world-class film and a 7.5 out of 10. So let me know down in the comments down below whether you agree, you disagree, you love this movie, you hate this movie. Let me know down in the comments down below, please. Also, we have noticed not enough people have been hitting that subscribe button, so please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, hit that like button as well, and I shall see you guys in the next one. Laters.